Levency and Valerie Clark online, no members.
Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order and we have a moderator.
And I'll moderate. All right,
Guys, do remember to use your outdoor voices. We just have the one mic and it does pick up, but it picks up faintly from the corners of the room.
okay. All right. Meeting called to order, okay, correspondence. All right, well, minutes of the last meeting.
I didn't see any corrections. If no one has any, I'll move to have the minutes approved.
Second,
I'll second. Correspondence,
all in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
It's been a while, guys.
Yeah.
Opposed? Robert's Rules of Anarchy.
I somehow I left out any changes to the agenda. Unless Brian, do you leave and see, do you want us to change the agenda so you can talk earlier about the trot?
No, Karen, talk to the microphone, that's how good.
Well, I'm just leaving,
She's-
Brian,
He's still muted though.
He's muted.
well, Brian, do you want to? Do we need to move Turkey Trot up to talk about it?
I don't think so. I'm here
Okay.
throughout, and if Brian's not paying attention. he
I'll
might
text
be,
him.
All right.
here he is.
No, I'm paying attention. I'm just I'm not good at unmuting. I was trying to figure out how to use the app. I'm bad at it. But anyways, I'm fine with leaving the agenda as I don't have much to say. I think Brian LaFrida is gonna take the lead on it anyway, so it's up to you guys.
Okay, so correspondence, I heard from Michael St. Lawrence at Wyndham Land Trust. I know this is further down in the agenda, but he can't be here tonight. And so I'll just tell you that they did not get the money to purchase the scout land from the federal government. That money all went up to northern New England, not southern New England. And they did do a backup federal grant, which is sort of based on bird habitat, and they will hear about that in October. So the status of purchasing the Boy Scout land now is they've raised $300,000, which is about half of what they need to purchase. So he's looking at, depending on whether that grant comes through, there will be no purchase, and therefore now we don't need the help with setting up trails until 2024. And then the report on the Bull Hill parking is that JD Engineering is in the final stages of engineering, and that should be done hopefully by the end of August. So that's all I have for correspondence.
You probably don't know the answer to this, so it might not be fair to ask you, or if you correspond with them, is there a danger of somebody else purchasing that property, or is it
Like it.
pretty much going to be held for them?
Well, nobody's shown an interest all these years, so
Yeah.
I don't think that's an issue. He
Okay.
didn't mention it, so.
Anything is possible, but it's pretty unlikely. It's a quiet view.
Okay, so we'll go on to finances.
So on the back of your agenda, you have the latest financial report, which is not too different from last time we met. But that's what we have for a total. And I just want to point out, and I missed it last time, but the Porta-John is 110 now instead of 100. So we only voted 100 for 8 months, and I just authorized the other $80 when, because they, in the finance department, they changed their fiscal year in June, at the end of June, and so they've been paying. So I can't figure out on here, I mean, he bills in a clump. He doesn't bill monthly, but so, it doesn't say which month it's for, but we've been paying 110 and not really knowing.
So we do that
Just-
for eight months, you said,
We would be doing the.
but we did it a whole year,
Yeah.
we said, so we had to get it.
Yeah, so I don't think.
Oh,
we
he
need
doesn't
to-
pull that?
No. he
for the
didn't.
winter?
That was. half
No.
of it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
After the first year, he decided to just leave it going.
So instead he raised his price a little bit.
We got,
But it's in pretty good shape when I check, even in the winter. So you need a motion for more money, is that?
Well,
what
I don't
you're
know if
asking?
we need to bother because I'm authorized to. Okay, that little bit of extra, so just so we know when we vote next time
Okay,
that it's higher.
yeah, when Leslie was here, she took over corresponding with him, and I didn't know.
Okay, can we go on to citizens' comments then? Are there any citizens commenting?
Valerie, nothing, Lyanne?
I met with you, we assessed the trail, I'm waiting to get the next step on that, I don't know when that will be. The ball's in my court.
That's exactly which trail was that?
Behind drafters.
Okay.
So I think I sent a report to people, maybe I didn't, but what we did is we went as far as the machinery would go. We didn't, that's what, and we're gonna do a sign going in the two directions from the parking. So there's trail A and B or east and west, whatever we named them. And once it got to single person trail, not as accessible anyway, then we just stopped.
Correct.
Did Mike Licamelli or his son go on that walk with you? Did they contact you at all? I seem to remember that I tried to put you in touch with
Yeah, he
him.
was going to try and be there, and that was the last I heard of him.
Okay.
All right, on to events, October.
All right, so I'm trying to find the date and I can't find it for the one that I put in for around the West Thompson Dam, not the dam, but the Red Bridge Road, Orange Trail, Blaine Bridge, and then back on the other side of the river. I did put that one in for a Walktober event. And then I don't know who was part of the chatter we had about Walktober events with Historical Society and I believe it's REC. You were part of that. I think
Well,
you saw.
I've been
So I did put in 2 events for that.
two events.
2 events. So one is gonna be, is a multi-thing event for the Historical Society that I said that we would support. Where they're gonna open the museum. They're gonna show the video of. I can't think of the name of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
the number 9.
Number 9, yeah. And as part of that, they're gonna do a historical walk. From Community Day, kind of in the North Cloverdale downtown area and kind of back into that ways. So kind of, I think like by 3 rows in the middle. And where the library is and that stuff there. So. I met with them, I think it was last Sunday? We were there? I think it was. I think the Sunday
Yesterday?
before I was on
No,
vacation.
last week.
I wrote my notes. So the walking tour is going to start later in the day around 3. And they're just gonna have one and they're gonna put signs at Community Day and it's gonna be in, I put it as a Walktober, so it'll be in the guide for people to know that there's a historical talk, but there'll be an exact time on that because it's listed as the whole day. Because the train events are still gonna happen up in the museum at the high school. Will be open and then the train stuff, and then they're gonna have the talk in the auditorium that's up there. That's gonna start at 11:30, it says. Allotted like an hour, then they're gonna start the movie at like 2:45. And then they're gonna talk and do a little bit of update on the train wreck park. He said he was gonna speak to you about some of that.
I think that I saw an email. I was on vacation last week, which you may or may not know. And I got pretty well caught up today, but I don't think I actually looked at that in depth. I just sort of saw some stuff go by.
Okay.
So,
He said he was gonna send me an updated email and I didn't get that yet either, so I'm sure it's just a work in progress.
yeah, so I'll probably loop back around to him tomorrow. I probably got through more than half of what I had to
And
touch after vacation.
even if you can't be there to do the update, if you have notes, I think somebody could. help with that part. I mean, I don't know.
Nice.
It's on Community Day at 2. I'm sure you get a lot.
I am gonna be around for Community Day. The only reason I might not be able to do it is if I decided to work as a vendor, which I was gonna consider doing to try to round out the field. I don't vend at those things so that I can make any money. There's no way I make any money at those.
Ah,
It's
there you
just
go.
to round out the field.
Yep.
So if what he wants me to do, I'd actually rather do that. So we'll see.
Okay.
And Community Day is the end of September, right? Not
yes.
into October.
Yes, it is the 30th of September because the following week, Indigenous Peoples' Day / Columbus Day is the
Right.
following weekend, and that is problematic for the schools participating. So they moved it for this year.
So are you calling that 2 events? For one, on
It's one event that's listed for
That's
the
one
day. It
event.
says that day that the museum would be open and they show the video. We just kind of locked in the times because it's gonna be really all day. He asked me, he said, well, should we do the train wreck site walk like we always do? And I'm like, we gotta know, Community Day's going on and you're doing all this stuff and we're involved and gonna help. Like for the walking tour, he asked if we could get a few of us to go and just be kind of keep the crowd in one area, help cross the street there and then come back. From trails. I mean, I'm gonna be there that day. There's usually a few of us, but it's not like he needs 10 people. He asked for 2, maybe 3 people.
Are we
to help.
also planning to have the trailer there on Community Day?
Yeah, probably.
We
Why
can
not?
do that?
Yeah, all I could do is put the trailer there and
Okay.
pull out stuff and let
Well,
people like
Somebody's got.
see that we have stuff.
John, do you have a pop-up tent?
I do, so I'm gonna be bringing that. That's a separate conversation, right? Bill emailed me and talked to me about it.
Okay, so that, because I'm part of Community Day at
Yep.
Last Green Valley.
So the Last Green Valley has a bunch of events going on the exact same day. So Bill asked if the Trails Committee had a tent.
Yeah,
I
okay,
told them we don't usually set one up, that I would set up my own so that the Last Green Valley could have a shaded space. So, we always share space. We've shared space with them for the last bunch of community days, so I didn't see it as a problem, but I'm bringing my tent.
okay, all right.
The other one that we put in was with rec, and it is looking at my phone, Friday, the 27th of October. We really didn't lock down everything on that. The Historical Society, I did talk to them because he gave me some information about cemeteries and he's got some stories and he's gonna be there, part of that, to tell some stories about some of the things that are there. What else?
The 27th of October?
Yes,
Tie in with Halloween.
Yeah.
yeah,
So is that gonna also tie in with the new cemetery guided tour brochures? It
Yeah.
must.
I don't know if they put anything in there. It's in the October event, but they'll have, I'm sure, the brochures for that. I don't think.
Is that the new one?
I believe so.
I have not actually seen them since they came out.
You can have that one if you choose.
I don't need to have one. Other people can have them. I just haven't seen.
Anyway, so that's gonna happen on that day. It's on a Friday. I don't think we put a rain date. Yeah. Well, we think, well, you know what? I take it back. We do have a rain date. It's probably the 28th. I wrote rain date and I don't know what else it would be effective for.
Yeah.
So, whatever help we can get for that, again, I have to still talk to, I can't remember her name who works for rec.
Amanda.
I think it's Amanda that was part of that. Because I listed Joe as the lead person and the contact person in the Last Green Valley Guide for the historical tour. And I listed her for the spooky walk because I was already doing my own walk.
I think she'd be okay with that. I
Yeah,
mean,
she,
Well, I told them and they get the confirmation emails that
Okay.
it was entered, so.
I talked to her about that originally. She's really into that. So
Yeah.
that's okay.
She had,
So-
I was talking
Yeah.
to her today. She had so much fun with Brenda doing the cemetery, the headstone cleaning last week for the camp. So, yeah, I think she's all in on the cemetery stuff.
Alright. So I have some like lanterns I'm gonna bring and I can have, they're not old school. I mean, they are to this day, but they're not to that cemetery's day. Did I say what cemetery? It's the one in West Thompson.
Mechanicsville. The one,
They said West Thompson, but they,
that's the West Thompson Cemetery, but it's
yeah,
the one in Mechanicsville, the old cemetery. Across from the,
down the road from, I mean, it's next to the trail and the,
Across from the pizza place.
yeah. But I think the other side of it,
at the
that's
back
where the
side.
older part of it is,
At the older section.
yeah. And I said I don't know, I'm gonna try and find some kind of not really a costume, but maybe something to wear that looks a little bit older. I don't have any. Like a cape or something, you know what I mean, like a long cape. I'm sure I can dig one up. We were a pretty good Halloween family, so I have stuff. For that, but that's what we're gonna try and do. I gotta get in contact with her and we'll lock down the times. I did put them in the guide as what times, because we talked about them. I just didn't write them on here. It's in the October guide. I got it in the day of.
270 some odd, walks, events, paddles.
Wow.
270.
How's that compare to last year?
We had just around 215, I think, last year. It was like in the 200s, low 200.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 50, 60 more.
Sweet.
Yeah. That's fine. I'm gonna have to change my spiel. I did an event for the last Green Valley and I said 225. What else? Do we have any other questions about those? I remember something from my high school days by looking at this, that I don't take very good notes. When I'm taking notes, because I'm looking back and saying, all right, what does that mean?
I'll check with Joe and see if he wants to schedule something up at the.
He does, but we talked about doing a later date and I talked to him
Yeah,
about
I'm willing
maybe,
to do that.
okay,
I'll work with Joe. I'll
Okay.
touch base on him, because I know we can register electronically. at least.
yeah, it just won't go into the printed part, yeah.
That's okay.
I think we had already talked and he can come up with the date, but I told him that the World Series at the Speedway is the 6th, 7th and 8th. So that's the first weekend in October, so we should stay away from that. And then our event is the 27th, so there's actually 2 weekends in between there. So if you wanted to put it in there in mid-October sometime. I just thought it was way too much and then traveling to a whole nother place, and I said, that's just too much on a community day.
I think
So-
you were right in your decision, but I might be able to fill a gap for him.
Okay, so anybody who can help out on community day, even if you want to just be part of the walk, to hear the walk and to maybe help with, keeping people from, he just said people start to meander a little bit if you don't have to keep them corralled, if you get a big group enough, so. He just asked if he could have help with that, and again, crossing the street to go to the mill side over there. I think that's all I got.
Okay. Turkey trot.
Like we skipped community day, or was that?
We were just sort of talking about community day.
Yeah, I didn't know if you had anything to add on his last point. What about the constables, if we're gonna use them on community day to do the street crossing?
Lee and C, do you have any updates on that? Did you hear that?
He wasn't.
No, I don't have any updates. I think what we agreed with the last meeting is that we're gonna maybe split it in half and have the constables do the morning and the community do the afternoon, or vice versa. But no, I don't know for sure how it's gonna work yet.
Okay, I said the walk should start at 3, so.
Do you need the constables for the historical tour?
To cross the street.
Oh,
We're planning on having a bus set up down in the field. With signs or something say, go up to the school for the open house for the historical site. So there's gonna be a bus going back and forth.
Can you hear that, Brian?
yeah, so there's gonna be a bus, I think, leaving from the gazebo area, right? So,
Somewhere. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's whatever makes the easiest part, and he just asked actually if the Historical Society and trails can be next to one another, since we're gonna be working on this event all day and kind of.
yeah. So
I'm
typically
wondering because the-
the historical
Brian.
society typically sets up in that bank building, so and that's, I mean, at the end where it would be easier to get on a bus to go up there. So I don't know, as long as Trails is okay setting up on that end, because I know typically you set up on the field.
Yeah, near the.
Well, if you want to set the trailer up and next to the last Green Valley stuff up on the field, we could still have volunteers at the.
Okay,
At
the Historical Society.
building.
okay. But we'll keep ours the way it is, Brian, and we'll just have people over there to help them with what we need to
Right.
do.
Okay,
We'll figure that out amongst us, I guess, for that.
And Lee and C, you, everybody still has to register, like even the nonprofits who don't pay for their spots have to register. So we'll have all
Yes.
the notes of who wants to be next to each other, because I'm the one who usually actually does the layout.
Okay,
So, yeah. As long as I have all of that information in central place, it's fine.
Okay, then moving on to Turkey Trot, and we're just really entering into our preparation season. I tried to forward Amanda's email to my phone and I could not do that, Brian. So I don't have the actual amount that we've received so far, but we do have, what, about 6 checks, I think, so far. We do have commitments from Centerville, from Hometown, and from Day Kimball. I'm still waiting for G7 to commit. Obviously, Amy and Jason have a lot on their plates. But she said she'd get back to me as soon as she could, hopefully by the end of the week. And if not, I guess we still have other options to move up to that 4th sponsorship spot. I haven't contacted anyone new since the beginning of June, but I had reached out to maybe about 10 new sponsors. None of them have sent a check or committed as of yet. Amanda usually does a lot of work for new sponsorships. She's obviously been busy all summer with summer camps and things like that. So I'm looking forward to her getting more involved and bringing up new sponsors. Yes.
You want to talk to Bill Cummings at Spicer Petroleum, the propane place on Reardon. I'll bet you he'll sponsor.
1725 in hand, by the way, right now.
Spicer Petroleum.
Mhm.
1725, yeah, it's a small amount, but of course the big ones move that number up quickly. Yeah, we had a couple, I did meet with Brian Levency Friday. We talked about a few leads that we're gonna pursue that we haven't yet, or haven't even in the past, so we're still hopeful of at least maintaining last year's contributions and hopefully exceeding it. As far as the race itself, we are adding a non-binary category, non-age specific. Anyone who doesn't feel comfortable being a male or a female or a certain age group can enter that category for whatever it's worth for their priorities in their lives. It was suggested last year and we felt like it couldn't hurt to offer it. It's there, people need it. We are inviting well-behaved dogs on the walk and hoping that that might open the door. I had already approached Runnings with that possibility. Have not heard back from them, but we could also maybe have some success with some of the animal hospital veterinarians in the area if they know dogs are participating in the walk. We had a couple of people ask to bring their dogs last year, so we felt like we should give it a try, and if nothing bad happens, we can make that a feature. We have no additional plans for the kids event, but we were going to talk to John at the meeting, and John has brought 2 suggestions today. And we've discussed that a little bit before the meeting regarding storage of one of those items, because that would be an issue due to the size and weight of it. Saying I'm a lot, I try not to do that. I'm sorry. And now I'm going to say, just trying to remember everything we talked about, Brian. So chime in if I don't think of it. Brian had to bring me check yet to the ranger station. We do have the date reserved. We are.
I would just mention Claris up their contribution quite a bit from 250 to 500. So
Who did?
Who?
Jeff Bolte's company.
Yeah,
Claris.
double the contribution, yes.
And the date is, you were just saying that.
13th, was it?
The 12th, Sunday the 12th, November 12th.
Yep, 12th,
Sunday.
Sunday.
I thought I heard you say second.
No, Sunday the 12th. No change on the day of the week. Let's see, we talked about the awards because of the new category. We talked about that we will appear on Winnie again since they do such a nice job of being on site and giving us promotions. I do have, for everyone concerned, Karen, John, Brian knows this, I do have my limitations. I will be out of state from October 5th through October 17th. So that's kind of a tough period to be away, but I have a car event and then I have my stepdaughter's wedding in Florida. So it's kind of like I have to be away for that time period,
The 5th?
5th through the 17th. Oh, the big thing I wanted to add today for John is that we are going to start needing to assess the trail because of this very wet season. I'm very worried again about access to all points of the trail, like we had a difficulty about 3 years ago. And may have to look at other options if some of those parts of the trail are underwater this year. So.
We also talked about,
But
sorry, we also talked about measuring the walk to make sure it's an actual 3K, because I do think that it ran a little longer last year.
and we don't even have to change it. We could just advertise what it actually.
Yeah.
The
I'm
3-ish
drawing a
K.
blank now, Brian. Anything else that we covered? You have a schedule of meetings. Do you have it with
Yep.
you?
No, I don't have it with me. Sorry.
I know they were planning.
We
on
have three
Thursday?
three tentative meetings scheduled. They're all on Thursdays. Thursday night, 7:30 Zooms.
So you didn't send those out yet, but you'll get those out to the.
Sorry, yeah, I'll send those out to you tomorrow morning.
Okay. All right, unless anyone has any questions, I'm sure there's other things, but we have one more trails meeting before the event in October, and what's the date of that meeting?
It's gotta be the 2nd.
So I will be at that meeting. I haven't left yet, so I'll be able to give an update at that time.
Right, 'cause that's snow
Brian,
days
we
after.
should also reach out to Laura about pictures again this year. Or Benick.
Yes. Okay.
John, anything as part of the committee, since this is sort of a meeting for us?
I don't have anything. I mean, I'll start walking the trail and seeing what it's like.
I'll
but-
do it with you if I'm around, so.
Yeah. See what it's like. Again, we probably weren't gonna know until we get so close to the date, because last time it was the week before and we thought it would be underwater and 2 days later it was dry.
Yeah. Sharon, you think of anything?
No.
Okay. Charlie, you've been involved with most years. Anything you want to add?
No, you seem to have excelled my capabilities, so I'll just say thank you.
Well, appreciate it. Okay.
But just, you need to call a special meeting. That's not,
Mhm.
that's an option too, after you get back.
The trails meeting?
If you need to.
Well, hoping we don't. I think the biggest obstacle I see is the course being ready. Okay,
Okay, other bike races, bike rides, bike whatever.
Yeah, okay, the first note, it's not on here, but the Hartford Marathon is running again this year. They're not gonna have a transfer point, exchange point in Thompson. It was too congested.
Oh, they're not.
Parking was a problem, and they were concerned about how it didn't funnel in well.
so where they did it up at the train wreck park site, they're not doing that.
They're gonna run right through there. It's just considered not practical and not safe for them to have a coordination point at this point. After we get work done, if enough of it's done by the time they come through in the end of August. The exchange point will be over in Dudley, I think, or Douglas or somewhere up that way. I volunteered to help them, but I'm not running any committees this year, especially because they're not doing anything in town.
Didn't they last year, they did the handoff up there last year too? I'm 90% sure they did because I didn't get to work at the exchange point like the year before, and the year before the traffic was.
Yeah,
horrendous.
last year, it
So-
was, as far as I was aware, it was quiet. I didn't hear
Yeah.
the kind of communication that I had with them.
I think they did the exchange point in Douglas
I
last year.
believe that was the case, and since I wasn't that interested in how well Douglas succeeds, I didn't go over. Second point is, it doesn't come into Thompson, but it relates to what we're doing, is Worcester County is now having a bicycle race. And they're our neighbor. March, the end of March, we're going to see the next riding of the Natchog Epic. I believe if we're smart, we'll make sure that we can be constables at some of the few crossing points in town. We weren't organized for volunteers last year, and I'll take that hit, though there's only so much I can do as a volunteer, you know. But we'll be talking about this at economic development as well. There's things that the people in this town can and should do to help enhance the town while visitors are here like that. We know they're coming in, we can be ready. Townwide yard sale last week, and the end of March isn't a good time for a townwide yard sale. So what the Historical Society might work, open up the museum again. We're just not coordinating. Even to that point, a few years ago, we talked about a map that you can get from the Chamber of Commerce down in Putnam. You open it up and it shows points of interest. And it mentions Thompson Speedway, but nothing else about Thompson. But it does cover other towns around Putnam. We're just not coordinating. So,
Well, that's why I like the Historical Society tie-in with Community Day, because that can bring more people to Community Day, it'll keep more people around for the duration of Community Day, and it advertises the town.
Joe was starting to talk about it, I helped him to get some of the thoughts. I agree. But every time we get visitors to town, we can and should enhance what we got.
Sorry, it's a bike race or a tour?
I think it's a bike race in Worcester. I only saw the ad once. It was on a link off of Facebook, and I didn't go.
So what's the race aspect?
Just, it's Worcester County, so that's why.
How quick you can do it?
I'm not running that show. I'm just telling you that part of what we made a commitment to, which is bicycling events and bicycling safety in this town, is starting to get picked up by our neighbors, and we don't want to fall behind now. Those are all the reports I got.
Okay. Trail updates. Maintenance work.
So I got a couple things, I guess, on the maintenance work. One, I cut part of the trail. From, we'll say the Mass line to, is it 197 where that bridge is on this?
193.
193, I always say 7, I'm sorry. 193 where the big puddle is and the bridge, I couldn't go any further because the state of Connecticut is getting work done on that bridge. Underneath their painting or something, I don't know, so I didn't go and get in their way. Cut both sides, pretty decent, again, as far as like being a plan thing, not gonna lie, I got some time off from work, I said, oh, it's a nice day, I'm gonna go mow. So I just went down and mowed, so it wasn't really anything that's pre-planned. I'd like to get out there before, because the Rymacon runs on the airline trail through Thompson, am I right?
What
The Rymacon, the race that's coming up.
Yes, it's gonna run through town.
So I'd like
It's
to-
not gonna stop, so we want to.
But they go on the airline trail, so I'm
Yeah.
saying I'd like to try and get another day in or 2 days to get the rest of it cut.
I'll run a weed trimmer for you.
Like I said, it's for me, it's usually a last minute thing, but if you
Yeah.
have weed trimmers and you want to do it, I would say that, like, to help with the mowing part.
I got an electric one, an old one.
I'm saying the place to do that is by the gates. Because then you can just kind of open the gate with the mower and drive through to the next side, as opposed to getting as close as you can to the post without hitting the post. And
I think I could do that on the shed.
so I'm saying that's something that somebody could do at any time, just around cutting around the gates.
Is
That'll
our,
make it
is
easier.
our trimmer working? Because wasn't it not working when we were out?
Nope, it needed more line. That's been fixed.
Yeah, it's up, okay.
So John.
Have you seen the new things they got? It's like a heavy duty wire brush. You can take years to wear it out.
Oh,
Yeah, we need something that actually cuts, because some of that stuff is,
it's big.
one
This,
brush could-
this will cut, this will cut. It's like a big heavy duty
Do you
wire.
have any issues with the mower,
No,
the brush cutter?
no. Love that thing. The way you set it up is it's so nice. You know, a lot of people walking on the trail and you just push the button and let them go by you. And then I don't know if they realize that, I give them the signal that they can go by, but it's nice to have that button right there to shut the mowers off. So people, it flings stuff everywhere. So letting people go by, it's nice. So that was done for the mowing. I'm gonna try and get more of that mowing, done between now and the Ramathon at least. Cause it's not, it's still open, but there's just a lot of brush on the sides and most of it unfortunately is poison ivy.
I received compliments to the Trails Committee for the mowing. And the condition of the trail, other than over by where the underpass is of the highway. Someone that was camping at the dam this weekend said what a good job and how nice the trail was.
Oh, great, nice. What else? Maintenance work. Also, I gave you the receipt for some fuel that I bought, but I also went to the place in Quinnebog. I can't think of the name of that mow shop. We bought tools from them and I had brought up last meeting if we should get our gas there. I went to Home Depot to get that gas. But I asked him if we could set up an account and if a bill could be sent to here, that would be paid out of our account because the gas we said is something that we can just purchase as needed.
Did we already have?
We don't, because I stopped in and asked him about an account, and the only thing that he said is, like you. Get something and he sends the bill and he doesn't like when people extend too far on him, then, he's a local small business guy. He said, I would probably not honor to keep the account open, and I'm just like, this would just be for gas, we're not gonna. And it would, if he sends it, it's gonna get paid because we need the gas, so.
Well, it's also a municipal department effectively, even though it's not technically out of the general fund, it's still,
Right.
it's not like the Trails Committee is gonna go bankrupt and disappear.
Well, anyways, I went down and talked to him and I told him that we had a meeting coming up in a couple of weeks and I would bring it up whether, that was something we were interested in doing.
I'm trying to remember how we paid for this big stuff that, the chainsaw.
So I know the
So,
blower, when we get the
yeah,
weed blower, whatever, not weed blower, but the blower, I went down and purchased it and I don't remember, I think we might have got the.
the
Yeah.
chainsaw, both sets were,
We've got-
the safety sets.
We got a lot of small power tools from him,
Yep.
right at the beginning.
Right.
Chainsaws, weed whacker.
And I think Orla just.
I had
She
done-
might have gone down with her own.
But we just
car.
kind of,
No, but I went down, to ask him about maintenance on our equipment and stuff, and he said, well, what are you using for fuel? And I pointed to the fuel that he sells, even though we didn't buy it, it's the same exact stuff. And he's like, you don't have to do any maintenance, if it's running fine, and with that stuff, it doesn't have all the alcohol in it, so. That's good, so that's why
yeah.
we agreed to just use that, even though it's more expensive.
Yep.
So we talked about that. I actually asked him, I think you brought up last meeting about an oil change on the mower and the Kubota. He's not sure if he can do it on the Kubota. I took some pictures, so after we talk about this, if we can buy gas through an account there. I'm gonna take those pictures to him and he's gonna let me know if that's something he can do. We have 37 hours, I think, on it. So I don't know how often but the oil's been in there for years.
Clear?
I don't remember it being dirty, so, but I can't exactly say. I'd have to look. I'll check again. The mower, I just gotta get him the specifics about the mower, and he said he can do the mower. But like, if we're taking the mower up here, just let's take the Kubota here, so we don't have to take it somewhere else. So he's gotta see what the motor is.
So the question about an account for the purchasing of gas, do we need to make a motion on that, or how do we handle that? Because
I'm just gonna ask Bill what we'd have to do that. I
Okay,
don't, I mean, we need to make a motion if we're actually spending the money, but
Is it? In the business world, it's fairly common to have a petty cash account. And I don't know whether that would make any sense or would even sound right in the general public's ears when we want to take a cash account out of City Hall. Town Hall.
well, we sort of have that by saying I can authorize the, up to $200 when we. But if I don't
We
know
said
how often you're gonna get the gas. Yeah, then we said get the fuel, so
right,
we passed a motion for the fuel.
Yeah, but you got like 5 gallons.
I just got just under 4 gallons, I think.
Yeah.
It's 4 containers, they don't have the 5-gallon containers at Home Depot,
Yeah, I know.
but they're still $110, $115 for 5 gallons.
$28 a gallon. I buy mine up at Winnebago.
Yeah. So anyways, right now, I'd say we already have those, we probably could use another 5 gallons just to make sure we have something that goes, but. Like I said, I wanted to see if that's something we want to, how we want to do it.
It doesn't go bad. If you got a safe place to store it. It doesn't go bad. It's not like the regular gas would.
But again, I mowed that one time last time, and I think I used like almost 5 gallons of what we had.
Hmm.
And right now, I think the mower is full. I don't know how much is in the Kubota. I don't think it burns as much gas as the mower. But again, I would imagine we need more than like another 5-gallon pail to do the rest of the trail with what we have currently in 5 gallons.
So did we vote an amount last time?
It
for the
wasn't-
gas?
We've always had what you said, that we made a motion, and I don't know how much it was, that you could authorize such and such money for fuel and or fix it, so whatever we. In between meetings, and I don't remember, that was some time ago.
Well, let's just make a motion to spend more money on gas.
I make a motion
Because I don't,
that we authorize you, John, to buy gas, so you've got some on reserve. And when he fills the tank, you can go buy some more gas, so he's got it on reserve. And you don't lose a day off when you got time, no gas. Got enough to get out and jump out and do a quick job.
I'll second.
I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Airline State Park Trails.
We haven't really had any updates, I think, since the last trails meeting, right? Because we saw the master plan around that time.
Right, the
Yeah.
12 town, yeah.
So I would say there hasn't been anything particularly substantive on the airline trail. Connecticut RC&D does have a new executive director, Jocelyn Leahy. Gene Davies has retired, but is still sort of doing some stuff on the airline trail in the background. They got RC&D got one of the CT Deep Trails grants to form the organization that will be the stewardship group for the airline trail. I don't know where they are with that.
Well, last thing Jean wrote was we'll be meeting in the fall.
That's right. And I
So,
had forgotten that
okay.
entirely, so.
Hmm.
Maybe
So-
by next meeting, we'll have something more to report.
But what's happening with our, the turntable and stuff?
Oh, well, I was considering that separately from, oh, I guess it's a
That's
sub,
what we are-
I see, you've got it subheaded. I thought we were taking them separately. So I emailed the Butlers right before I left for vacation, hoping to get an update from them for tonight. J&D completed the additional survey work that we needed in order to create a draft deed for the Butlers to transfer what ends up being less than an acre of that parcel after Daniel redid the site plan. I meant to circle back to them today. I'm just gonna need to call them. It's one of those things where Julie works during the day and Vern works on the farm during the day and I'm here. So I hate to like call and pester. I'm trying to do it all via email, but I don't think email is their favorite way to communicate on this stuff. I believe there is an ag commission meeting at the end of this month. So at the very latest, I will see Vern at that and can get some kind of update from him before then. I mean, we are expending funds on the first grant. I do not have the contract in hand from the second grant, but that's not unexpected. I think they had said it could take up to September or October. They are not quick to turn those around. Theoretically, I've been told, oh yeah, you can start doing work there anytime, just nothing you want to get reimbursed for yet. I'm not, well, because we do have to spend our match before we get reimbursed for anything, but until I've got a contract in hand, I don't want to start a thing. All things being equal, I'm hoping to go out to RFP for the turntable work in the fall, but that is all speculative until I see that contract. It's all going to have to go out to bid, even though we got estimates and quotes from local guys for the costs. The amounts of money require, because it's a state grant, that we go out to bid and take the lowest competent bidder in the whole 9 yards. So, you know, everything always goes slower than you want it to, but I mean, we have the commitments from the state. So the real thing I need to do is coordinate with the Butlers. We have plenty of money to accomplish this task. So far, our legal fees from our town attorney are less than $500. And I do expect that'll go up. I expect that we're going to be covering some of the Butler's legal costs as a part of the grant. And then there's the acquisition costs. None of it's particularly complicated. We just have to be able to communicate together. And, you know, quite frankly, I have a lot of irons in the fire, so it doesn't necessarily rise to the top of my list every day. But I did mean to contact them today, so I apologize for not doing that. The only other thing here that I'll mention, and it's not related to the airline trail, but it is a trail-related grant that's not on here. As you guys know, I have the grant open, the planning grant for the 65 Main project, which includes, as one of the deliverables, a plan to convert that back 3.2 acres behind 65 Main, which is actually a part of Riverside Park, to like a food forest with walking paths and, you know, whatever. That is out to bid right now for permaculture consultants. I did a site walk there, 2 site walks actually, with ECCD and a total of 3 consultants. I'm hoping all of them bid. I know that we received a bid via mail today. They're going to be open next Tuesday at the Board of Selectmen's meeting. And that'll be the first part actually of the 65 Main project that actually starts getting worked on. And I imagine that I'm going to want some trails input on that, even though it's not like a trail that's going to have much connection. It is going to open that up as a recreational and green space. And I'm sure that whoever the consultant ends up being is going to want some input from you guys. So, and that's going to be a super cool project. It is, I mean, it's wet back there because it's right on the French River, but you know, it's been a super, super wet summer and there wasn't really a lot of standing water back there. It's a mix of invasives and non-invasives. There's places where there's no invasives at all. And then there's places where the barberry and the bittersweet are so thick. I mean, so thick. So, you know, part of the job on that is actually to clear invasives. So, or create a plan to clear invasives. It's a planning grant.
Okay. Looks like Leanne, on Last Green Valley assessment sign.
Before we go on away from the airline trail, can I make a suggestion that we start to plan what our next enhancement project will be? We know how long it took to get the stuff done on the trails, on the train wreck site. But the rest of the trail has some interesting points. Behind the condos where that bridge went in.
Mhm.
There's a nice little rapids that goes down on a state-owned right of way to connect up along the side of Riverside Drive. Nice little walking route. There's a couple of other areas that I think we should look at. I'd like to suggest that we consider how we could clean up around Route 200. There's an opportunity for public art there. It's already graffiti and some of the tagging's not too bad. Some of it's just poor. But the point that I'm making is these are, again, where public will come through. What kind of image do we want to present? And we don't have a lot of resources except for our minds and our willingness to do some work. So I'd like you guys to look at those areas that I just suggested and see if you can think of something else before our next meeting.
It is worth reminding that Putnam did get, again, in that last round of CTD Trails grants, they did get some money to work on the connection from Putnam to Thompson. It was only a fraction of what they wanted, and I think that's proving a little complex for them to try to figure out how to apply the funds in a meaningful way. But I do think that the next likely substantive upgrades are going to come from that end with Putnam in the lead and Thompson as a partner.
Yeah, but we can do a lot of nice enhancements even with our own, even with just volunteers. I'm tired of people waiting for something else to happen before we're allowing the excellent or the perfection to be the enemy of what we can do.
Well, I think, Charlie, on these, you need to take the lead and say, we're doing a site walk at such and such a date and put it out to the group, because people aren't gonna just go and. You're too loose on what you're asking.
You're right,
Be
you're right.
more specific.
I've learned that over the last year, but I still haven't learned it.
I mean, we went out.
If
once and
something's important to me, doesn't mean that anybody else is gonna share that vision, and even if they share the vision, they're gonna have a desire to see it.
No,
I've
but
been
you-
willing to let other people.
It's just a scheduling thing too. It's like,
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
for,
I'm
for
willing
me to
to
get
let
4
other
people
people
together
take
for the
it.
turkey trot on Zoom has
It's not
been
working.
difficult.
You've gotta take the lead on one of these and say, let's focus on this one and who can come on this day, you know. We went and we walked that area around the condo.
Yeah.
We said, wouldn't this be nice, but. People are working on other projects, so. We
And
got.
that doesn't even factor in things like up at the state line. Donovan.
But let's stick back to the
Right, I'm just saying, if you wanna do another project, just trails people, you need on, the airline is to define it. Okay, not just, we should do this, we should do that, go look at it, okay? Define it.
So I'll just say one thing. If you're conducting business, you probably have to convene it as a special meeting. If you're discussing activity,
If we're doing a site walk, we don't usually, we do a site walk.
I think that there's some Robert's Rules of Order issues
Well,
there.
It's open meeting law. Whether we fall under open meeting law when we're not getting a penny of tax dollars. It's
Maybe.
hard
I mean,
to-
I just would say that we know that there's people out there who are going out of their way to find fault with our processes as
Well, they
town
walk through
bodies.
The Briars with us then.
But what I'm saying is you would have to, what I'm saying is that you would have to notice it.
They-
That's what I'm saying.
Even when I've done things that were public notices, they didn't come out and walk through the Briar. Man,
Yeah, Charlie,
man.
these are not people who have any actual interest in participating. They are people who have an interest in finding fault. So right now, we have to be very cautious that things like that could be construed as public meetings should be properly noticed, and do not expect anyone to show up, but at least be above reproach. That's
Sure.
all I'm saying.
Well,
I have a question about the last Green Valley. don't they have, cleanup funds that you can apply for, grants in the spring, is it?
Yes,
Would that be something to clean up underneath the Route 200 bridge, such as the graffiti and whatever else is down there? There's a little bit of trash and stuff. Would that be something that would fit into that?
the trash is more of the cleanup funds. We haven't had a graffiti type thing, we've had. I mean,
But
it's
say,
possible,
if we look at it the other way, like Charlie, you said, well, that's what I'm saying, Charlie. If you wanted to be that public art thing, I'm sure that could be listed as cleanup if you're gonna see if people would do public art and cover up the graffiti. So funds would be needed at least to say whitewash where the graffiti currently is or something, but
I feel like there is currently a grant open through the Connecticut Office of the Arts for small public art grants. Now, the issue that you may have there, is a lot of stuff through Office of the Arts has to funnel through either a municipal office or a nonprofit that has an arts mission, which we have no such thing in Thompson. However, the Cultural Coalition is I forget the term that they use, but they are our partner or representative, and we have a resolution from the town confirming that. So you could conceivably contact them to see if they would be willing to to act as the lead or the fiduciary on a grant. But there's a lot of steps there, right? You've got to find the grant, make sure you apply, make sure you have the project, determine if there's match fund requirements, blah, 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 and then contact the Cultural Coalition. They have a new executive director. I have not met her yet. Do you remember her name, Lyanne? It was Wendy Burry, and I knew her. I knew her, and she was fantastic, but she's moved on. And I haven't seen as much communication from the new ED yet, but
Well,
I just saw that the other day. So that's just something to keep in mind.
I've seen examples of municipal organizations sponsoring. They go out and they find who's doing the tagging and say, show me what you can really do. Enter it in. And they draw something up and they say, oh, okay. And they get the sponsorship for it. They're not gonna get, their rivals might tag over them, but most of the people that are out there tagging will step back and say, oh, look.
and I'm not gonna lie, I don't think there's been tagging happening out there in some time. It's not like it's,
Well, then it's been out there.
I mean, it's been there, but it's just, I'm just saying it's not like I've seen in other places. So I don't know. Is that something that you could-
Population density.
But do you want to follow up with that? I mean, to look and see with that cultural coalition, if they would be the, I forgot what you called it, fiduciary for
Yeah,
grants for cleanup funds for that? I mean, that might fit right in there. And if the grant pays for stuff like that, I'm just not lying. I don't have it to put on my plate.
the last Green Valley has over exceeded their grant funding for 2023. So the next round won't come out until the spring of 2024. But I can check on it and see if we can add that.
That'd be awesome.
Okay, back to you, Luann. Sign.
Well, no,
It's
actually,
actually Karen.
yeah, I still haven't heard anything from them. I was hoping somebody would be out on the trail and say, hey, the signs are up.
I haven't been down there since.
So, well, yeah, so I don't know if they're there or I still have to bug them.
Or if he's done any of the things that he said he was gonna do. That
It's been a
was,
wicked year, so. as
It's
far
hard
as
for
weather
people to
and
go out and
trees
work,
and
right?
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah,
especially when they don't have help. Not an excuse, but
no. I don't even, like I said earlier, when Karen first came in, it seems like that was, I can't even remember when it was, but it seems
he
like. it-
said they would do it in May, is what
Yeah.
the last communication was, yeah,
Hmm.
I'll get back to him. Cause I mean, then the question is, if he says we're not gonna get to it this year, should I say, bring the signs to Thompson Town Hall, we'll take care of it.
the last I knew, he wouldn't do that because of liability issues in case somebody sticks a drill through their hand or something.
Oh, okay, well, that's good, they have to do it. All right.
But you could ask them again, because
So was this Scott Bushy? Was that Mac
Or
Quinn?
maybe we could sign a waiver.
Was that Mac? Mac?
I think it was Matt.
Okay.
Okay, are we set with that? We're on to Donovan Drive.
Well, I sort of sent a report after we went out there, so there's, again, we haven't heard anything since because it's on, it's up to the private developer at this point, and he's had as good a time trying to work outside as everybody else, so I don't know if he's done anything. I didn't bring the map in the rain, the big map of the area, but it's not in our ballpark yet.
No,
You sent out the report and I asked a question and didn't remember whether or not it came back, but the kayak or canoe put in area wasn't mentioned in your report.
Well, to go down into what we saw is it was pretty wet, it's pretty
So it
steep.
wasn't accessible, but it wasn't all.
Well, he wanted to do some drainage stuff first before, he had to get, deal with the water coming off the road and everything, so. Where it comes into the river area, it's pretty steep. He was gonna do some work there, is what he said. And he said, you won't be able to drive all the way down, but you'll be able to drive off the road and in there. And he knows we want to sort of have a parking so that you could at least carry boat further down. Then, once you're down there, the area right by the river is Army Corps. So we sort of had him move the trail a little bit higher up in case it's still, because it could flood even more than, even though it was a really wet day, it could flood it even more. So the trail itself is supposed to be higher up. So
Trail, yeah.
the trail, so, but it's open down there where
That's a nice
where
area.
the water is. So I think once he's done his work, we can look at, do we want to put in a little plank thing, and we'd have to get permission from the Army Corps. If we wanted to put in something to make it easier to just do a put in, yeah. So we're not there yet, because we don't know how he's gonna change the terrain right before it.
All right. I just wanted to make sure it hadn't dropped off of the list because it's a perfect spot. It really
Yeah,
is.
no, it's not a reach for moving.
But access isn't gonna be easy, so I don't know how much it would, because it's steep going down.
Remember, John, I went over there the first time without all the underbrush. I was able to see it from all sides.
We walked right down to it.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
that's
we
what I'm
were
saying,
in
it's a steep hill,
the mud, I mean, it was really.
Yeah, it
it
wasn't funny when I was
was
walking
really
around.
muddy.
but
So,
I'm just saying it's a steep. I mean, I'd throw my kayak on a cart and wheel it down there,
Yeah.
but, I mean,
it's not gonna be like Fabian,
no,
it's not gonna be like.
not
that.
as easy as that, it's a lot steeper than that.
okay. On to the last on trail update, is that LaFleur?
Well, Wyndham Land Trust, I already told you what's going on there,
Okay,
unless somebody has questions for Mike.
so we on to social media, PR, outreach, maps, brochures, flyers, etc.
We did receive, whatever number that was, more of the Z maps. So 3 boxes, however much it comes in a box. I feel like it was 3,000 units, but I can't actually remember. And that was mostly paid for by the tourism district. EDC matched just $1,000 out of what
So
What the
we'll
town
have
cost.
some for community day.
we've already got them. We've already got them. So, and we had no changes to ours.
Oh,
Now, it's not clear that will happen every year, but it happened this year. The tourism district really likes that project. I'll be bringing some this weekend down to the Mystic Arts Festival. Renee and Leslie and I are going down to work it on Sunday, and we gave a lot of those out there last year, and I'll end up giving a bunch more at the Big E again, I'm sure.
They're popular.
People like them.
So I tried to build that container to use them and it was a big fail. And I really haven't gotten much to it since last time I had the meeting, like I put a rubber thing over the bottom so that it would, I don't know, they wouldn't slide down. I don't know if I made it tighter, too tight or. Anyways, it's in the not good pile. Oh my God.
I mean,
So-
I have, when they're out on the trail, it's like, how many people just take it because it's there and throw it
Right.
away. So, you know, if they're taking it from other sources, I think that's okay.
Okay.
And
So-
Paul, you had an
Yeah,
updated
I
map
was
you were
setting
gonna
the
send
map up,
out.
And I looked that all over again, and it's really not ready for prime time.
The Culver Trail on
Yeah.
there. All right,
I did it, by hand, and somebody had a map drawing software that, wow.
There's an app that we can download, that will allow you to satellite GPS as you walk through.
But I'm looking at it again. That's why I didn't say that wasn't ready for prime time yet. I wouldn't want it to be, out to the public. It
okay, well,
needs work still.
okay.
Yeah.
Again, I can use my app, Charlie, and walk down there and it'll show me where I walk by getting it from my GPS from my phone onto a piece of paper or a map. That's a whole different.
That's what the Connecticut Trail Finder app is using, one that will. And you can download it for free, Avenza, I think it's called. I posted some information about that when I downloaded mine.
Oh, you have it? So why don't you take a walk to the trail?
So social media, I've been posting stuff Brian's been posting stuff that we can, for me, I see something that's relative to trails, that's like in, say, Putnam, they got that grant, I shared that on there. Haven't had a lot of questions on there. About much really. Sometimes if there's trees down, etc., somebody lets me know, but frankly, when I mowed, I was real surprised, there was nothing. The whole time that when I mowed, across the trail, so that was nice. So I don't really have any other updates besides that.
I plan to start posting on Turkey Trot page and sharing to trails and rec the sponsorships. Now they're starting to come in. I usually wait for the main sponsors. Since we don't have an answer yet from G7, I want to at least start recognizing the people that got their checks in early. Give them a little pat on the back for being prompt.
We on to reports from neighboring towns.
So I haven't heard anything from Putnam.
Their last meeting was canceled.
City Savings Bank.
Well, I didn't even get the notice,
No, I try not to go to the banks because we have a major,
but I must be off the list because I didn't get the meeting again canceled.
I got a notification about that meeting. And I haven't made it to any of the meetings.
Just offer them a little
And I might have got a notice about that too, because I think you got me on there.
Yeah,
so.
I know they were.
I'll send it to you if I can find it.
Well, I'm gonna make sure she got me on the mailing list.
Guys, because I worked at the bank in my Walmart.
Well, I cut this out of the
Sure.
newspaper, the Southbridge News.
Using it all.
In June, they had a huge meeting about the trail coming through Southbridge and finally going into Dudley and finishing whatever. This is June's report, which was very positive. A month later, it's down the drain because a different group has been put into, I want to say they changed political fields in Southbridge, so now it's in question, so 20 years plus and they're still debating the same stupid stuff. So. I don't know where it's gonna go. Because one group was all gun ho and the other group that came in said, well, we have a lot of questions. Well, the questions have been there for 20 years and, how are you gonna get through Main Street? How are you gonna cross from, the bridge in Lower Main Street? In 1992, we gave them the answer and they didn't like it. So, here we are. 20 years later and they haven't gotten any further. I know. So I thought I'd just bring it in if somebody wanted to look at it. If not, I add it to my collection that's, this thick of stuff that, say, hey.
that project doesn't touch on the other end of Southbridge where they are making progress in Sturbridge.
They are people,
They got a
exactly,
grant.
that's exactly the issue. That's what the first article said. You know, you can go to Sturbridge and you can go almost to Palmer, but if you come to Westville, you're stuck.
Yeah, but part of that is because the train never connected the two.
No, but the thing is that they've got the trail right down to West Street. And, you know, from West Street, they need to cross the town.
Yes.
And they were shown ways to get across the town and, you know, all they have to do is get down to River Street. And the trail is there. Somebody took off all the metal and sold it, but, you know. Nobody ever got, the town never got the money. You know. And, you know, once you're down on Crane Street, you can go all the way to East Main Street. That was all a railroad line. Oh. And then when they took the bridge off, the trestle off from Lower Main Street, you know, instead of just taking off part of it and leaving the bed
Yeah,
itself.
they made a couple of mistakes on that.
Well,
stretch.
it wasn't mistakes. It was whoever was in the town hall at the time that, you know, made the decisions and, you know, because they're arguing about that. There's money in the town, well, not in the town, but there's money in the Wells Association. People that own the American Optical. There's still money in Southbridge that can be used in Southbridge only. And, you know, there's money to put that, whatever you want to call it, rail, bridge, whatever.
Well,
Because I spoke to somebody just a couple weeks ago and I said, oh, get the Wells money for that, you know, because they can't figure out how they're gonna cross Main Street. You can't go down, do you want to talk about a steep bank? I mean, you know, it goes this way and this way. But the trestle was there, you know, so. So I read the first one and thought, oh, wow, finally, and when I got the second one a month later, I went, oh, well. Back to the drawing board, you know. I mean,
At some point, there's gotta be a push, so, I mean,
well,
Only
there
because
was, there was.
Southbridge is done, that
Well,
part of
this-
Dudley's done.
You got Dudley that's done, Sturbridge that's done, and you got this stupid piece in the middle that they can't figure out what to do.
yeah, but the pressure's gonna start to come on them more because more
Well-
work is being done in Sturbridge and Palmer.
Yeah,
It connects to a bigger picture.
yeah,
It's something that I think would benefit some of our naysayers in town to step back and realize we are connected to a bigger community, like it or not.
Well. That's not a convincing argument to people who don't want to be connected.
Mhm, exactly.
Doesn't
That's
matter.
what I was
You
thinking.
can't convince them
They-
anyway. I
like
said they
happy.
need to see this.
Well, I
They-
mean, to what end? To what end? These are people who want
I
to
guess
live in a
so.
bubble.
Yeah.
And the fact that we don't live in a bubble is immaterial to their desire to live in a bubble. So presenting the fact that we don't live in a bubble
Well,
does
we're
not
still
advance
bubble.
the argument in their minds.
And we've talked about connections with Webster and EDC and stuff, and I mean, we have these towns,
Yeah.
but. Yeah, the resistance is
we
there.
can do, and the more work gets done around them, the harder it will be for people to say no. Unless they can break the right
And
way.
It's,
That's not my whole job, that's my focus,
Yeah.
just do as much as I can while I'm here.
I just wouldn't invest too much hope in changing the minds of the hardcore naysayers. They're not interested in having their minds changed, would be my observation.
Thank you.
I could be wrong. I have
I-
occasionally been incorrect. I've
Sometimes-
heard.
More lately, I try to challenge Tara, but on this one, I think she's got a very good point.
Well, anyway.
Trail census?
as I was gonna ask, any more neighboring towns? No, okay, then we're on to trail census.
Okay, every time I've checked the calendar, it's been fine. I've seen the numbers and I've posted them onto social media platforms. I have not gone out there and sat by the side of the trail and counted on any particular day. Twice when I intended to, we wound up with buckets of rain. And I want to do it on a weekend because I know those are the peak traffic days.
Not gonna lie, you'd be surprised. mowing. There were so many people. I mowed from Sandam the other way, and I think I saw 2 bike riders. But then I went, because they were doing the bridge work, and I ended up going up towards the Mass line. I think in like, not even half the time, I saw 10 times as many people.
Well, I
What-
believe
what
it,
ti-
and-
what day of the
and you
week?
can look at,
It's a Friday.
you can look at the
Beautiful day.
data and you can see that the bar charts are excellent and they show us. Not only the peak days of the week, but the peak hours of the day. And sure, we got population density again. We don't have the numbers that the southern end of the state does.
No.
But we've got a constant growth
Yeah,
and we've got documentation of it.
Yeah, this isn't updated since
So
22.
how many hours are we supposed to do that?
Oh, my God.
And
They want us to do 10 hours.
10 hours, so you
And I-
had a bunch of people, I said I would do it at some point, but I need the forms, the directions, I need to coordinate.
I'll
you.
I have to resend the Facebook page that has the link to the forums, but I got some somewhere in my house, but I've been,
I thought we decided that we didn't have to do.
we don't know how to do it.
Not surveys, not where you ask people.
No,
Is
we
it
don't
just
survey them, we just
sit
need-
by the counter
it's a
and
calibration.
see, you write down how many people and then later the counter is checked to see if it's the same, if it's working with the same number of
Just
people.
like you
That's
said
all.
before.
You sit there with a book. when
So it's a
somebody goes by,
verification.
There's nothing to do.
And when I figured out that they wanted 10 hours and we don't all have to go, I thought, I'll go up a couple of weekends on, holiday weekends and whatnot, and rain and rain and rain every time I targeted it. I suppose I could go sit there in the rain and file that in the report.
Or I could go walk by the counter a couple of times.
No, I just have to say, nobody was here.
We're gonna want nobody.
But if they compare it to the real data, they'll say. You're lying and people are buying, right?
No, see, I don't want to file a false report.
Okay, equipment, tools, status, maintenance, I think you covered that earlier, unless you want to add more to it.
No, I think we're good. We talked about it. Gotta get the information to him about the oil changes and stuff, but that's the only maintenance that he said that we kind of. He didn't say we needed it. He thinks we're good right now, but I want to get more information to him. So I'll know more by next meeting. As far as
They do good service. They serviced my snow blower and came over before. I didn't think they'd come over before the blizzard. They came over, picked it up and brought it back before the blizzard,
No,
and it worked like a charm.
so I don't have anything else on that.
Alright, so new agenda items for future meetings?
I already mentioned it, but connectors to the airline trail also, with that little loop down by the condos is one. I think we need to figure out how we can make more of the people of the town aware that how easily they can get to it. Whether it's by bicycle or by foot. We're anticipating we're gonna get new neighbors across the river. You
In
know,
our lifetime?
In our lifetime.
In our lifetime?
I
Yeah,
feel reasonably,
I am.
I feel reasonably confident that in our lifetime is an accurate
If we
statement.
are able to succeed with the public meeting and the ordinances, I say yes. I know that's a big if.
Yeah, well,
Well, you know, they're
I'd
complex.
rather have a big if than a big buck.
I resemble that remark.
Don't touch that.
Oh, by the way, thank you for everybody who did come out, and I don't know who didn't make it to the thing with the developer the other week. That was really well attended. We had really good feedback.
It's in Tennessee. I really want
So-
to go.
It was good to sort of get the project back in front of people's minds
Yeah.
and we have the opportunity to move another step forward. It's like it's like riding in a cart with square wheels, right? Everybody's got to get out and actually push all in the same direction to turn the wheel over and move 20 feet, but
Hmm.
there is actual progress. So So that is a good one. In terms of agenda items, if you just want to make a general note for grant updates, not just the airline trail, because I would say that the two grants related to the train wreck interpretive park and the permaculture park. And I forgot to mention, I did submit a grant shortly before I left on vacation to have the wayfinding system fabricated and installed. Remember a couple of years ago, we did that whole design. In fact, you got me a letter of support. I think you managed to get one over to me. Now, the last time I applied to that was about 2 years ago, and we did not get it, but I was sort of tacitly encouraged to apply again. I think the application is slightly stronger this time anyway,
Good.
and we've got more things to point to, like all of the other development, like the more connections you make, the stronger it is. So I should know about that, I think, by the next meeting. So just to have a general grants update is probably a good line item. And I will definitely have more information on the 65 Main planning project, because that RFP is out to bid now and it's going to close. And then the public engagement process on that, which will involve not just the programming of the small business center, but the design for the permaculture park, the food forest, whatever, however you want to term it, is all going to be a part of the project workshop that is almost certainly going to kick off in October to meet the grant timeline. So, and that'll be a year-long, kind of like what we did with NPS over on the other end, on all aspects of that. So.
No further business? Take a motion to adjourn. Oh my God, 20 after 8.
I'll make that motion. You need it for the record.
Second. Awkward silence, yeah.
Aye, if you need it.
Have a lovely evening, everyone.
Be safe.